On New Year's Eve, I was squatting on the street eating instant noodles for a client. I received a year-end bonus from the company, which was 250 points. It was deliberately too obvious, and at the same time, there was an enthusiastic thank you message in the company.
Next second, Xiao Shen, I have no interest in your company. But I recognize your hard work and diligence. I decided to give you that 300 million contract.
When will you sign the contract? I held the phone and suddenly smiled. Mr. Lu. The contract can be signed, but I have to wait for me to change companies. After listening to me explain the cause and effect, Mr. Lu was silent.
I have been in the industry for a long time and have seen everything, but this is the first time I heard about Xiao Ying being treated harshly. If my company wasn't in China, I would have Don't worry, these 300 million orders cannot escape. Wait until you decide your—
Think of this order as my entry-level gift to you. After hearing Mr. Lu's promise, I felt a sense of soreness and warmth in my heart. Just a customer who has been serving me for half a year has such trust and support in me. But the company I worked for 5 years with all my heart only gave me the deepest humiliation.
Xiao Shen, I'm still out here running for clients. My colleagues are all in box 808 of the Jinting Hotel. I'm missing you, so you should come and enjoy the fun. With my determination to resign, I turned around and walked towards Jinting Hotel. The winter night wind—
After just eating instant noodles, my stomach felt warm, but my heart felt completely cold. When I arrived at the door of box 808, I opened the door, and the heat wave enveloped the food, and the hot air hit my face. There were lobster sashimi and abalone rice in the middle of the round dining table, and half the table colleagues gathered around the chair, all smiling with their faces full of wrinkles, and their voices getting louder than the last. Thank you, boss, for the big— Next year I will definitely strive for performance and follow Mr. Gao to achieve greater success. He Yuking, who has only been employed for 3 months, squeezed—
I really didn't expect that I would get 8,080 yuan after only 3 months here, and the sound of a banquet would immediately ring out around me.
Mr. Gao takes special care of me, and I will definitely work hard in the future. Gao Kaiming waved his hand and flattered louder. I stood at the door. Watching this farce, no one noticed me coming in. It wasn't until Gao Kaiming swept across the door that he seemed to have just remembered. Xiao Shen is here. Sit down quickly, sit down quickly. The laughter in the box suddenly stopped and everyone's eyes turned to— I thought he wouldn't come. He still visited clients on New Year's Eve. What good could he do? I didn't answer their questions and found a corner to sit down.
Green vegetables have no taste. Xiao Shen, I heard that you are currently working on a project with Mr. Lu.
At the mention of Mr. Lu, everyone fell silent, and were still following up.
The company will not treat its meritorious personnel badly, and will promote you as sales director next year. Brother Shen, what about you? How much is your year-end bonus this year? Not much.
250, so lucky! This number is very suitable for Pin Crown. I have no—
There was no rebuttal. Okay, don't be ridiculous. Xiao Shen's performance is indeed insufficient this year. He is not stopping but making up for it. I don't want to endure it anymore. When the dinner party ended, no one paid attention to me. I walked out of the box alone. As soon as the door closed, but tonight is not over yet, I didn't go home, I went back to the company. I started organizing customer information, which has been my trump card for 5 years. Who can make the final decision? Who only delivers the message? Who really cares about the plan? Who only cares about the price? These are not gifts from the company. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the backup was completed. And then I opened the headhunting list. At 9 o'clock in the morning, my phone kept vibrating. Unread is that there are 90 companies, all of which are headhunters. Salaries start at a 50-cent increase, and the resources in your hands are hard currency. 在市场上却 the head of marketing is waiting for you. I was a joke in Xingqiao, but someone robbed me in the market. On the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, the first day of work, the office area was quiet for a few seconds. They were waiting.
This position has bad feng shui. No matter how great the performance is, the bonus is still just a fraction.
马上, He Yuking also came over. Brother Shen, I thought you didn't dare to come. A big order of 300 million will be announced today. Everyone thought the order was settled. But I just smiled coldly. Manager Shen, Mr. Gao asked you to go to the office right away. The real drama finally begins. Gao Kaiming was on the phone before pushing the door open. Mr. Lu's big deal of 300 million will be landed soon. And you will be invited to hold a celebration party when the time comes. When he saw me, his expression changed immediately. The small bonus was meant to motivate me, but I just felt chilled. Mr. Gao, do you have anything to do with me? He frowned.
You were originally following Mr. Lu's 300 million project. But there were flaws in several of your projects last year. He Yuking took the lead in signing and implementing them, and you assisted her as her deputy.
彻底边缘化, this was planned. He would first humiliate me with low annual rent, then suppress my self-confidence,
and finally hand over the project to related household. The 300 million contract is signed. He Yuking will be the #1 contributor.
What a good idea. Mr. Gao wanted me to send the client to Hiku King. Gao Kliming's face darkened.
Customers are the company's resources. If you can chat with them, the company is strong enough. Don't think that the company won't make the preliminary preparations have been done, and now it's time to make the final move. It doesn't matter who signs the deal. He said it.
Since it's the same for anyone who goes, then let He King sign it by herself. What do you want from me? He Yu King had just arrived and didn't know the details. This is the command.
Mr. Gao, I can't cooperate anymore. What kind of resignation letter is this?
The air froze at this second, and he stared at the envelope for 3 seconds.
Resign, Shenye. Are you out of your mind? Who else needs you besides our company? I still look calm. You only have a few years of sales experience. Is it childish for you to lose your temper because of your year-end bonus? The more anxious he is, the calmer I am.
Since I'm so bad, then Mr. Gao, hurry up and sign, so that I don't bother you.
Go now! I've wanted to fire you for a long time. If I want to get this month's salary, it'll also spit out the 250 yuan annual bonus.
He also came up with a non-compete agreement, saying that you are not allowed to work in the same industry within 2 years, otherwise I will sue you and bankrupt you. But I have consulted a lawyer a long time ago, without non-competition compensation. This is the proof of my freedom, Mr. Gao. I hope you won't regret it in the future.
Regret. I will regret driving away a loser. Without a company platform, you don't even have a chance. That 300 million order.
He Yiking was still able to sign the contract. I didn't look at him again. I ignored his curses. After all, I would be free in no time. Returning to my workstation, I started to pack my things. Yuking was sitting next to him, still applying nail polish. Oops, look, everyone, our bestseller is really leaving. I didn't look up and continued to clean up. Everyone gathered around.
Really leaving? So impulsive. How hard it is to find a job outside. All commissions on large orders are gone.
Yu King walked up to me, and Mr. Gao said that the work would be handed over to me. What about customer information? Where are the core documents of Mr. Lu's project?
In the thick pile of documents on the table, customer contact information is in it, as well as copies of contracts and past records. These are all public. Add in some insignificant anecdotes, and the real core things are quietly lying in my pocket. Yuking flipped through it a few times and nodded with satisfaction. I guess you understand you can go. If you can't find a job, you can come to me for help. I picked up the carton and looked at him. Yuking said to you what? Some things are not yours, and it will be hot to grab them. After that, I left the company without looking back. The moment I walked out of the building, the sun was dazzling.
I dialed Ziding's number. Hello, Mr. Lu, I am Zhao Shen. I have resigned.
Aha, okay. I have been waiting for this day for a long time. Now that you are free, can our cooperation begin, of course? I looked at that familiar office building.
Before that, I want to treat you to a good show. What play? You will know then.
After hanging up the phone, I called Mr. Cheng. Mr. Cheng, I agree to join.
But I have a condition. Whatever you want is fine. 3 days later, the original company will hold a signing ceremony.
I want to give them a big gift, which requires the cooperation of legal affairs and public relations. Mr. Cheng was silent for 2 seconds. And then, I just like your fierceness. 3 days later, I will personally lead the team to support you. After finishing everything, I never looked back. These 5 years. Just teach yourself a lesson. 3 days flies by so quickly. On the day of the signing ceremony, luxury cars gathered at the door. A red carpet was spread on the floor, and Gao Kaiming welcomed the guests, with a spring breeze on his face. He invited all the industry media in the city. Mr. Lu will be arriving soon. Everyone enters first. They thought victory had been won. In the last few minutes before signing the contract, a taxi stopped at the door. I walked down calmly wearing that old suit. The welcoming lady was stunned for a moment. Gao Kaiming saw me with sharp eyes, and He Yuking also came over.
Oh, isn't this Xiao Shen, the former bestseller? It had only been 3 days since I left my job, and I was already—
There was low laughter all around. Mr. Gao, don't say that. They want to come and have a look. Without him, how can we sign 300 million? I dusted my sleeves and Mr. Gao warmly invited. You sent so many text messages asking me to come to the ceremony. Those text messages were all showing off and ridiculing. Gao Kaiming's smile froze. Okay, come in and sit down.
That's the table for the staff. If you leave the platform, you are nothing. I didn't protest, I just sat down. They thought I'd been stepped on. Passionate music plays and lights focus on the center of the stage.
Dear leaders and distinguished guests, I would like to invite Mr. Gao to deliver a
I sat in the corner and watched him take the stage. Gao Kaiming came on stage and
Thank you everyone for coming to the Xingqiao signing ceremony. All media cameras were focused on him. Xingqiao will enter a new... We will sign a strategic lock worth 300 million with Yunhai Group.
The words 300 million were so bright that Yuki's eyes lit up. There was thunderous applause from the audience, and the media headlines were almost written. Let us warmly welcome Mr. Liu Shengen, chairman of Yunhai Group. The spotlight shines on the door of the banquet hall, and everyone cranes their necks. Yuking had already held up the contract, and I looked at the door. The door slowly opened, and Mr. Liu walked in slowly wearing a dark gray windbreaker. At the same time, I stood up. Before Gao Kaiming realized something was wrong, Mr. Liu finally expected you to come. The contract is ready and waiting for your signature. Yuking also approached with the contract in hand, but Mr. Liu did not take Gao. Ignoring Yuking, his eyes passed through the crowd and landed on me accurately. The banquet hall became inexplicably quiet. Mr. Gao. I think you misunderstood something. Misunderstand. Didn't we agree to sign a contract? It's agreed that the contract will be signed. He turned to face everyone.
When I do business, I recognize people but not temples, and all eyes fall on me. My 300 million will only be invested in Shenyang. My 300 million will only be invested in Shenyang. Since Shenyang is no longer in your company.
Why should I sign a contract with you, exploiting employees and showing no integrity? At that moment, time stood still and Gao Kaiming opened his mouth.
The contract folder fell to the ground, and the media reporters instantly exploded. Mr. Liu, are you kidding me? The details of this contract have been... Shenyang is a part-time worker, and she was fired by us. Shut up! If I am fired by you, I'll only receive a 200-year fine.
At that moment, I didn't lower my head, and the whole place was in an uproar. 250 yuan year-end bonus. Is it real? The media immediately grasped the key point. Xingqiao is so stingy. Everyone finally saw me. But no one believes him easily anymore. This is a rumor. Mr. Liu, don't listen to his nonsense. Our company is very powerful, and he is anxious to push Yuking out. Yuking is also excellent. Yuking forced herself to smile. Excellent. Mr. Liu took out a recording pen, and Yuking's face froze. Without him, how can we sign 300 million? The sound is not loud, but it is very hard. The media already knows who to photograph. But they don't even understand the core needs. How can they still be called excellent? Yuking was completely speechless. Mr. Liu no longer looked at Gao Kaiming. The crowd automatically parted away, and he took the initiative to extend his hand to me. Shen, you have been wronged, and the corner has become the center of the audience. I held his hand, not aggrieved. It just allowed me to see some people clearly. Gao Kaiming's face was extremely ugly, and Yuking did not dare to. I don't need to explain this scene anymore. The signing table is still empty, and the real second half has just begun. Cheng Yuan from Yuanhang Technology is here, as are the heads of the legal and delivery teams. He first made sure that I was still stable, and then turned to Liu Chenggen. Lu Dong's Gao Kaiming was completely panicked, but he would not sign the contract on the spot today. Gao Kaiming seemed to have grasped a life-saving straw. Do you hear me? Shenye didn't even dare to accept Yuan.
Do you really think you can take away 300 million? How can it be as simple as mine? Cheng Yuan ignored them, and the real rules were about to come to the table. Yuanhang respects customer choice, but we also respect business rules. This is not about grabbing projects based on excitement. The project involves the original service provider, and the customer must also read. On the contrary, I breathed a sigh of relief. The project can be discussed, but the evaluation needs to be...
Shenyang can join Yuanhang. This is the position Yuanhang gave me, but he cannot take away business secrets. Gao Kaiming was completely speechless as he could not use the old company's internal information. We redo all plans.
This is the victory I want. Everything goes back to the rules. Liu Chenggen looked at the document. Mr. Cheng.
You are more cautious than I thought. 300 million is not a small amount, and long-term cooperation cannot be relied on in one breath.
Shenyan, I recognize you as a person, but Yunhai is not my company alone. The voyage also needs to be re-evaluated, but there is one thing I will make clear today. Yunhai will not continue to cooperate with Xingqiao. The media has changed the title. But Yuanhang is not a natural winner, which is only fair. That contract.
Completely useless. Shenyang walked out of Xingqiao with the shadow of Xingqiao on his body. I just want to bite you to death and steal customers. He knows that the media is afraid of such words. You will never be innocent in the industry in the future.
It's finally my turn to speak. Mr. Gao, if you're innocent, you won't be killed. Relying on the evidence, Gao Qiming's eyes darkened. Then well see. No contract was signed that day and the media headlines changed. He thought I hadn't won yet, but I knew the hard part had just begun. The real battle. Still behind. When we walked out of the venue, it was already dark. The wind at the door is During my 5 years at Xinqiao, the word I heard the most was results. What about customers? How do you explain that? Asked me first if I was cold, and he gave me time to breathe. Didn't you feel happy enough that I didn't let you sign the contract on the spot just now? No. You did that to leave me a way out.
Ni Cheng Yuan smiled. There is no need to prove your ability, but Gao Kaiming will not let you go easily. He will describe your abilities as stolen and customer choices as taken away by you. I looked up at him.
Yunhang is not trying to judge you, but helping you to walk a clear path. There will be a project protection meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Legal, delivery, finance. It's not to judge you. It's just to make it clear what you can use and what you can touch.
If Gao Kaiming throws dirty water, we will speak with evidence. At 9 o'clock the next morning, I walked into the Yuanhang conference room on time. There was only a cup of Project Protection Committee was written next to it, and all relevant departments were present. Cheng Yuan didn't speak for me. He was waiting for me to speak clearly. This time, I am willing to be protected by the rules. Let me explain the source of the information, what can be used, what cannot be touched, and what needs to be reconfirmed.
Save this part first. The plan starts with a blank template, and everything is redone. This is not to doubt you.
It will make you stand firmer in the future. Tang Zhouwei walked to the whiteboard with public information in the first column and customer authorization record.
The third column, Xinqiao's internal information. Those things that were mixed together were finally separated.
The first two categories can be used as soon as the sources are clear. And the third category is the bottom line of quotation, cannot be touched. Gross profit calculation, cannot be touched. And undisclosed strategies, cannot.
I spread out the materials one by one. Which ones came from the client's authorization? Which ones were personal visit notes? And which ones had to glass hurts but is necessary? The more Bai Ying looked, the tighter his brows became.
The old plan cannot be modified directly. No, the workload will be doubled. Director Bai, do you find it troublesome? Of course I find it troublesome. But trouble is at that moment.
I felt at ease for the first time. Finance Luo Jin took over and looked at the conservative version.
Let's look at the neutral version. And finally the optimistic version. 300 million can't just be looked at as a pretty number. 300 million is the Yuanhang Street project cannot be carried out by Shen Yan alone. Shen Yan, you are the person in charge, but the person in charge is not alone. Everyone has their own position. You must learn to lead a team, and you must also learn to talk about risks in advance. I don't have to swallow it alone.
I understand that this is my new beginning. The protection meeting lasted for 2 hours. When I walked to the tea room with a pile of labeled materials, Xitang followed me. I've heard your name before. Everyone said you brought 300 million, but I never brought 300 million.
But really important projects are stressful. I was stunned for a moment.
If you're not nervous, it means you're not taking it seriously. If you're nervous, don't mess around. The atmosphere finally relaxed. They weren't here. They really entered the factory. Thank you for reminding me. When the first push popped up, I knew Gao Kaiming had taken action. The word suspected is the most hurtful, and this is so disgusting. The screenshot is from Xinqiao internal group. Why do they write this?
Tang Zhuwei is calmer than us. Don't make noises online. Leave it to the legal department.
Confirm the evidence first. Don't forward it. Emotional responses will be captured and exploited. The response is not to scold back, but to state
Cheng Yuan didn't ask me when he came in, so you don't have to make a fuss on your own. Yunhang responds with facts.
For the first time, I didn't have to rip alone. I didn't return to the rental house that night, and a call came from.
There is also pressure on Yunhai. Tang Jing, the person in charge of procurement, asked for a re-tender.
All competing products from Xinqiao Voyage can participate, and Gao Kaiming, and I finally stand on the same set of rules. This time, I can afford to lose.
That night Yuanhang formed a temporary team. This time I am not alone. Bai Yu is responsible for the technical arc. Su Tao is responsible for customer interviews. Luo Jin is responsible for process coordination. Tang Zhouwei is responsible for compliance boundaries. And I am responsible.
The real bidding starts from this moment, and Whitefish first dismantles the old plan.
Yunhai is not a node. There are at least 7 old systems under it. It is unrealistic to bring them all online with.
You can only counter control if you insist on it.
I also want to say this, but I didn't say it out loud at that time. The old plan could no longer be used. There are indeed compromises in the old plan. Gao Kaiming just wants to sign. Bai Yu didn't laugh at me. So let's write down what I can't do first. Customers may not like it. Customers may not like it. But they must know that we start from the problem and redo it.
In the early morning, Yunhai's email arrived, but Tang Jing didn't give us a break. She wanted a risk plan and a replacement staff configuration. The last one is the most important. He is not looking at who is better at speaking. He is looking at whether we dare to take risk. That night, no one said any nice words. On the day of the second Q&A, Gao Kaiming also came. Shen, you really dare to write about risks. Customers may not like to hear bad news. Zhu Tang's eyes flickered. Customers don't like bad news. But I don't like to be woken up by bad news. The real question. Waiting in the conference room, the second answer was without any formality.
I won't look at the promotional materials today. I want to look at your service records in the past.
Luo Jin's expression changed on the spot when he complained about the post-sales review. But Tang Zhuwei remained calm. I want to see how you deal with the problem after it occurs.
He didn't. News came back to Yunhang that last year a project was delayed for 2 months, and customers even complained to senior management. The conference room was quiet for a few seconds, and the materials were given to Mr. Cheng truthfully. Wouldn't this be too ugly? Covering up is Yunhang also displays the most ugly parts. As expected, Tang Jing asked about that project. Last year you had a project that was delayed for 2 months. Customers also complained that the submission was unstable. But Cheng Yuan did not push it to anyone. He was responsible for that and the postponed voyage. He failed to control the early demand boundaries and didn't. Shen Yan, how do you avoid this problem from happening again? Must answer positively first. New requirements must be revised. Second, 4-party risk meetings must be held every week. Don't let technology passively take the blame. Termites took over what I said. Customers can make demands, but no delays are allowed. The technical person in charge of Yunhai smiled, and Tang Jing only remembered one line. After the meeting, Shen Yan, please stay for—
Tang glanced at me worriedly, and the conference room suddenly became empty. I know you have been wrong.
This sentence is harsh, but if you want to win, don't talk too much about how difficult it is. Talk about how you can make the project—
They were all waiting for me to speak. I wrote down what Tang Jing said. Don't talk about grievances. Talk about how to avoid problems. Mr. Tang is so— All that can keep us awake are good words. Everyone bowed their heads again. This time we won, without grievances. On the day of the formal evaluation, there was no red carpet or media.
There is no red carpet or media today. We only look at plans, prices, risks, and delivery. Kaming still wants to rely on packaging to support the show.
We put the list of questions at the top. Xing Qiao reported first, and he pushed He Yuqing to the front. He Yuqing stood in front of the screen.
The cover is very beautiful, and Xingqiao's plan is mature and stable.
Gao Kaiming nodded with satisfaction. We have complete successful experience and every sentence is familiar. Tang Jing has no expression. He thought the report had passed the test, but Tang Jing did not praise him. The synchronization of overseas node—
What is your emergency path? He Yuking's hands are messed up. We have a mature plan for this. Who is responsible for it, and how many hours will it take to—
Gao Qin's face also changed, and he started looking for Gao Kaiming to save him. Mr. Gao has a clearer understanding of the overall direction. Gao Kaiming finally couldn't sit still. We are definitely fine with the general direction. What I am asking about is the execution path. This sentence is more—
The 300 million project is brought online not by direction, but by details. Xingqiao's beautiful—
The voyage began. When it was my turn, I did look at Gao Kaiming. I only look at the screen. The first screen is not an advantage, but a problem and something that cannot be promised. If Yuan Hang doesn't first talk about how strong we are,
Tang Jing did not interrupt. Our plan is divided into 3 phases. The first phase is only a pilot project.
If there is no promise to go online in full within 3 months, the technical person in charge starts to take note of it seriously. Bai Yu took over the technical part, but the interface was not working properly and sales could not be promised first. Zhu Tang also took note of it.
Next is the fee and acceptance, and payment will be made after each stage is completed. The acceptance indicators are written into the contract attachment. Fees are not charged based on concept. Tang Jing read it very carefully, and both sides had to clearly write down the boundaries of responsibility. Gao Qiming felt if the target is not reached, Yuanhang will bear the responsibility. These 4 words are very important. Yuanhang's problems are not passed on to customers, and customers' lack of cooperation.
Tang Jing finally raised her eyes and looked over. She was not looking at me alone. Pilot failed. How do you exit this issue? We wrote in advance, and it's already quiet over at Xingqiao.
After the report, we will not give the results on the spot today. Gao Kaiming breathed a sigh of relief again. Yunhai still needs to—
We didn't win, and we didn't lose. Will Yunhai choose low price? It's possible, so waiting is harder than speculating to win.
3 days later, the email finally arrived. When I clicked on it, my palms were sweaty. It was not a winning bid, but a trial entry. Xu Tang almost laughed. Don't celebrate. The pilot is just the beginning. Looks like I have to stay up late again. We only got one chance, and the first stop for the pilot was the Yunhai factory. Xu Tang didn't talk much the whole way. There is no signing booth here, just machines, warehouses and people. The first one built is procurement. We just want the approval to be faster. I held down Xu Tang's pen. Don't write the conclusion first, and then listen to the second one was built for production. He overturned the purchase approval as soon as he opened his mouth. If the production was too fast, it would be messed up. If the same demand was changed to another...
Xu Tang finally crossed out the conclusion. Which of you has the final veto right now?
He couldn't answer either. It turns out that there are also fights among customers. The third one...
Purchasing and production are all about yourself. Finance came up with a third set of arguments. The process can be fast, but the...
3 people. 3 sets of answers. The real problem is not with the...
And in who has the final say?
I finally know where the 300 million difficulty lies. After the interview, Xu Tang was very quiet. I used to think
It's the signing booth, group photos and press releases. Those are just the parts that others see. The real projects are hidden in these cracks. So what should I do next? Split their blurry paintings into action.
I can't just be a note taker. Back on the voyage, it was already dark.
The words of the 3 departments are finally put together. This is not a system problem, but an organizational problem. Organizational issues cost the most money.
I divided the questions into red, yellow and green. Xu Tang began to break them down, and the real thunder finally emerged. We finally got a clear view of the battlefield. On the day of the pilot demonstration, Mr. Lu also connected remotely. Beiya's hand stopped on Yao Jianjian. The first batch of data passed smoothly. The finance department nodded first, and Xu Tanggang breathed a sigh. But the real test is in the second batch. Tens of billions of presses are imported for the second time.
The red anomaly was played. Bai Yi immediately cut to the background, and the financial person in charge stood up directly. Is this what you call controllable risk? Tang Jing did not help us, and Mr. Lu also fell silent. I know, I have to admit it first.
The problem will be borne by Yunhang first. Tang Jing picked up the pen again. A list of questions will be submitted at 6 p.m. today, and a complete review will be submitted at 12 p.m. Mr. Lu still didn't speak. The most unpleasant word...
It is recommended that the procurement pilot be suspended for now. Xu Tang's face suddenly...
Shenyan, I recognize you, but the Sea of Clouds is not a stage for you to prove yourself. This sentence hurts more than the question. I can't take a project to a company you...
I looked down at the list of questions, but I couldn't back out yet. Mr. Lu, Mr. Tang...
Given 3 days of sailing, Tang Jing did not interrupt me immediately. Within 3 days, we came up with a solution. If that didn't work, Yu Heng voluntarily quit. Bai Yu looked at me suddenly. Xu Tang didn't say a word.
Mr. Lu was silent for a long time. 3 days. Don't let me down again.
At 11 o'clock in the evening, I returned to Yonhang. Bai Yu was still sitting in front of the computer, and Xu Tang Lu Jin is still calculating the cost, and Tang Xiaowei is also waiting for me. I suddenly couldn't say a polite stop standing there. The problem is not dead yet. At that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. I have no responsibility to pursue anyone first. I didn't see the first. In the second column, Yunhai did not explain clearly. In the third column, both parties think the other part.
The technical issue was just superficial. I heard it at the time, but didn't ask any further.
Don't blame yourself yet. Post the problem. Failure finally took shape. Bai Yu first found the thread. The versions of the 4 financial sections were inconsistent. This was not a coding problem. But we didn't see it in advance. Aunt Bai swallowed her words.
Tang Zhuwei wrote it down in the review, but Yunhai didn't say it clearly.
But the review is not to shirk the blame.
Luo Jin started to calculate the cost of delay. The cost of delay for 2 days will go up directly. If our single profit will be reduced, Yuanhang's...
Tang Zhuwei immediately wrote down the minutes. All rectifications must leave traces, and every problem must be turned in. Zhenshu that night, everyone was patching holes. 10 minutes before midnight, the complete review was finally completed. Yuanhang underestimated the field differences. Zhenshu and Yunhai also needed to fill in the confirmers. This report is not pretty at all, but it has to be true. After the transmission was successful, no one celebrated. They will also explain it in person the next day.
We took the initiative to return to the Sea of Clouds, and I did not explain my grievances first. Yuan Hang is responsible for... Tang Jing watched very slowly, and we didn't ask for forgiveness, only actions. The person in charge of finance finally took action and locked the fields completely for today. What he wants is not...
I watched the review, and the Sea of Clouds needs to be solved, not explained. This sentence blocks all excuses. Understand?
There are 2 ways now. The first way is to go around and make the report look good. The second way is to spend 2 days digging out the mine. I know which one he will choose. Tang Jing was silent for a few seconds.
Yuanhang suggested taking the second option, extending the pilot for 2 days, and Yuanhang would bear the cost. The time for the second stage will not be pushed back. Bai Yu's face...
Xu Tang has already started to make up for his movements.
I will see the result.
Those 2 days were the most difficult. Bai Yu almost lived in the conference room, and Su Tao no longer recorded which 4 paragraphs are they about. Luo Jin guarded the problem wall, and Tang Zhimei kept every step. For the first time, I really learned to lead a team.
The light is on, and the question is still on. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I saw Sizu Tang sitting on the ground, and I handed him a bottle. Have I been doing odd jobs? You're not doing a job, you're blurring your customers.
It becomes an action that the team can perform, and I seem to have really entered the field.
On the 3rd day, the system was retested, and Mr. Lu intervened again. Bai Ya's hand stopped changing keys again. The rematch began, and this time the red didn't pop out again. The person in charge of finance started to check, and it can be passed. The tone finally fell, and Bai Yu finally leaned back on the chair. It seems that sales will not use their mouths. Su Tang finally smiled. What Tang Jing saw was not the same person, and Mr. Lu finally nodded. I finally understood that advancing a project is not about standing in the spot. It's about not blaming the blame when things look ugly. But it's even colder here at Sikiao.
I signed it, and it said that I dominate Yunhai, but Mr. Lu didn't recognize me at all. The company is in trouble and you want to get out of it. The date was changed to before he left office. If you sign...
This time I was really scared. For the first time I want to leave evidence. The moment the red light lights up, it will be said to the outside world that you...
It turns out that I was just his shield. Is this considered a lie by Mr. Gao? Are you still qualified to choose now? Every word he said was recorded.
I can't continue to make mistakes with him. I was just about to turn off the computer that night, when the news came from Hiyuking, and evidence popped up one by one. It's a recording. It says to the outside world that you have always been in charge. This is not emotion. He finally wanted to stand up. Tomorrow at noon, Yunhang will have coffee downstairs, and he has to walk out by himself. I have no way out. I brought Tang Zhouwei with me. These are all true. I want to hand it over to Yunhai and the investigation team. Please think clearly. Telling the truth is not to ask for my forgiveness, but to stand up straight.
This time, I signed it myself. After handing over the evidence, I wrote down the timeline clearly.
Timelines are sharper than emotions. It turned out to be Biqian and Hiyuju, the white-eyed wolf. Tang Zhu completed the chain of evidence. Yunhai, what about our commission?
I didn't turn around and scold him again. Tang Xiaowei held a briefing meeting. The evidence first looked at salary flow and project group records, and they also had to be preserved. If you don't, I've never learned this before. Can the boss ask for inheritance and get it back? If you have evidence, follow the
What I can help is give them a basis. A week later, Yunhai went to the banquet.
All 3 indicators are green. Who compiled the anomaly tracking table? Am the one doing the sorting this time?
Handled decently. This time it's not me who's looking at. Yuanhang has entered the 2nd stage. The 2nd stage has not yet started, and the price of competing products is 20 cents lower. Tang Jing put the 2 quotes together. Why did Yuanhang lower the price? It can be reduced, but the consequences must be clearly stated. Price is not a number. To compare the same thing, Yunhai's email arrived 3 days later. But Yunhai didn't choose the best one. He chose to be clear about responsibility. We have really entered the 2nd stage. Don't worry, the 2nd stage is more difficult. I knew nothing bad was going to happen. New troubles were waiting for us. I finally know. Gao Qiming asked me to meet, and he poured me tea for the first time. Come back, I will give you the vice president of sales, 3 times the annual salary, and the team will. Do you think I'm worth the price? Or am I the only one who can save Xinqiao? He couldn't answer. Mr. Gao, I won't go back. The next day, the rumor came and the photo angle was chosen very dirty. They said you were dealing privately. Gao Claiming wanted to muddy the waters. Cheng Yuan didn't ask me first.
Let's look at the process record first. I already reported it before I went. This time the process was blocked in front of me. Tang Zaiwei is already sorting out the materials, and every step has a timestamp. This is not an explanation, it is a clarification of facts. Cheng Yuan deleted the emotional words, and
facts are slower than curses, but more steady. It turns out that Liu Cheng can really teach people, and he even kept this.
The investigation team is really here, and the year-end bonus list is also on the...
Those 2 numbers hurt people's eyes. Performance is no 1. Why only 250? That was the result of the comprehensive assessment. Shen Nian was not the only one who was detained.
Do they really want to get to the bottom of it? The meeting lasted all afternoon.
Zhou Qiming
Suspended from management duties. How did it get to this point? The chairman finally started to forget about it.
It's finally no longer a joke. It turns out we can really get it back. He finally could no longer slam the table. This account...
Finally back to paper. The 2nd phase is noisier than the pilot. East China must retain the old city. The old process is too slow, so East China does not want it. The North China Renkai has no acceptance caliber. This time there is triple the chaos, and the 3 caliber systems will explode. Don't argue first. Write first and
The second phase really began and the meeting finally quieted down. Shen Yan pushed the microphone to me and I came to confirm the caliber.
The first one is not lazy. The differences can be kept in the second column. And whoever signs the third column is responsible. Su Tang turned the quarrel.
It seems like I can really hold on. After the form was sent out, Hadong signed it first, Hadong also signed it, and Huaibai stamped the financial seal and signed it, and I dared to match. I didn't miss the confirmation.
The second phase can continue. The unified caliber is only the first step of the second phase. The night before the stress test is another.
3 data poured in at the same time, and the yellow alarm popped up first. Who changed the caliber of South China? Don't panic. Check the confirmation record first. The problem is not in the code. It's in the expedited caliber, isolation and rapid flow.
This time, Su Tang saved the system first. The day of the second stage acceptance.
All 3 indicators passed. Su Tang, where did the abnormal shutdown rate come from? Calculated based on the time of responsible signing. If there is no signature, it will.
Tang Jing signed for Su Tang. She was no longer the new person she was before. Preparing for the full launch of the third phase, Mr. Lu
Passing the first 2 stages does not mean full safety. Bai's face darkened again. All 4 types of scenes must be run. Prepare for all risks on a long voyage. Don't rely on luck or luck.
We rely on results to speak for ourselves, and the last hurdle has finally arrived.
On the day of the full stress test, 4 scenarios were started at the same time. And the running data rushed up like a. This time I couldn't miss the rollback. But it didn't crash. I still had to go to the last set of financials. The last 2 frames seemed like a long time ago. The last frame finally turns green.
This time it really came alive, and I really followed and finished the run. Tang Jin stamped his approval. And then he wanted to join the team working on the 3.
This sentence doesn't just belong to me. Enter the final signing process. This time.
The project really came to fruition, and the actual signing day was very quiet. Not only was the amount behind the contract, but my name was also on it. Mr. Lu signed the contract very. Cheng Yuan did let me stand in front of the stage. This time I signed for a team, and I finally didn't have to prove it alone. The 300 million project is finally not a bustle. The moment I signed the contract, I became quiet.
Yunhai is not the end of a project. Cheng Yuan wrote 4 words: if the system is stable, it requires trouble. If the system is stable, people must be stable as well.
It turns out that starting over is more than just signing the order. I changed the courseware 3 times, and I posted a screenshot of. He actually talks about failure first, and then talks about overturning in the first lesson. Don't talk about overturning, no one. The 3 principles are trivial, but very important. Finally, he can't just carry it on his own.
This lesson is also taught to me in the past. I didn't talk about 300 million in the first class. I posted this. Is this talking about workplace victimization? This is not a grievance, but a win signal. Less money is not scary, but distortion is scary. He really didn't suffer. Sales doesn't just sign the contract. That's what I really want to talk about.
It was my turn to stand up. The customer said as soon as possible. You cannot directly write as soon as possible.
Will dismantling customers find us troublesome? It's better to be in trouble in the front than in trouble in the back. He no longer needs me to hold him back. This is what a team looks like.
Finally, I wasn't just following behind. The final results are finally here, and every one of them is true. Gao Qiming, dismissed from management position. No one listened to me this time. The overdue debt was finally settled, and it turned out that the money could really be returned. It's time for me to leave.
Yonhang's press conference did not have a red carpet. Yonhai was split into 4 modules, and Shen Yan was responsible for the sales and delivery system. I'm no longer just this time. It's a group of people who stand up. What can really be copied is not me, but the system that clearly. This failure also became a teaching material. A year later, I sat in the back row.
This time I don't panic anymore. What should I do if the customer doesn't cooperate? If you don't cooperate, it will be written into the.
He can already lead the team independently. This time he finally doesn't have to put out fires. It became a signpost and I could finally retreat to the back. It was New Year's Eve again, and my phone vibrated again. This time, the name did not disappear, and the group was lively but not dead. Zhu Tang has returned to the battlefield, and I sent the answer. I'm still me, but not the same. This time, someone asked me to go back, and I returned to my voyage.
They saved a seat for me. Mr. Shen, if I don't come, the food will be cold. This year has not been in vain for us. I respect everyone who made things happen.
There was no charity or humiliation, and I finally didn't have to swallow my grievances. This meal feels more like the answer.
A year later, I taught this class again. I have been talking about these 3 sentences for a year. I also started over. The workplace is not just about. Let's see who can explain it clearly. On the last page I let him go. He reminded me, don't let anyone lose like this again. I finally finished talking about that day. After the open class ended, new questions came again. Mr. Shen, new project risk list. Your salespeople are really good at finding.
Shen Yan, the meeting is here.
I think of the year end bonus that didn't have my name on it. I didn't have my name on that day, but I will have my own place in the future.